Hello and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, the what, why, and how of the newspaper analysis from the civil service examinations perspective. So today, we are going to discuss the Hindu Delhi edition dated 24th November 2022. The topics which are to be discussed have been displayed on your screen, and the timestamping of the same has been provided in the description box below. So before starting today's session, let us look at the question for the mains weekly answer writing practice. The question says, the mode of terror financing has changed and expanded over time. Explain the various modes of terror financing and also mention the legal mandate to counter the same. This is a long answer question, that means you have to answer it within the word limit of 250. So submit your answers on the ELEARN platform and get it evaluated by our expert evaluators. Before attempting this question, you are also requested to go back to the DNS dated 19th November 2022, whereby in detail Ankit sir has discussed various dimensions associated with the theme of terror financing. So revise this DNS dated 19th November 2022 and come up with beautiful answers. So our first topic is from the geography section. This particular topic has appeared in today's The Hindu Delhi edition at the text and the context page. As you can see, the topic is in relation to the El Nino and La Nina weather pattern, which are changing because of the climate change which is happening because of the rising anthropogenic activities. The immediate context of this very topic is that recently a new study has projected that the climate change will be significantly impacting the El Nino-La Nina circulations. The importance of this study lies in the fact that earlier also, obviously, we knew that climate change is going to alter these weather phenomena across the world. But earlier, these impacts were predicted to take place around 2040. But these new studies have projected that these impacts will be clearly visible a decade before, that is by 2030. And that is why this is bound to result in the further global climate disruptions. As far as the UPSC's scheme of syllabus is concerned, this topic falls under the General Studies Mains Paper 1 section in the Geography. And if we have to talk about the micro section, then it goes like important geophysical phenomena such as earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic activities, cyclones, etc. And the changing geographical features including water bodies, ice caps, etc. because of the climate change. And not only from the mains perspective, but also from the prelims perspective, this topic is very important. So that is why in today's session we are going to discuss this topic from the both perspective, that is prelims as well as mains. For example, in UPSC 2017, the question was asked with reference to the Indian Ocean Dipole. The question said that with reference to the IOD, sometimes mentioned in the news, while forecasting the Indian monsoon, which of the following statements are correct? The statement 1 is, IOD phenomena is characterized by a difference in sea surface temperature between tropical Western Indian Ocean and tropical Eastern Pacific Ocean. Statement 2 says that an IOD phenomena can influence an El Nino's impact on the monsoon. So here are the options given to you: 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 or 2. Now, as far as the answer of this particular question is concerned, the statement 1 is incorrect because IOD phenomena is not in relation to the Indian and Pacific Ocean. Rather, it is an intra-ocean phenomena between the West Indian Ocean and East Indian Ocean. So that is why statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. That is why 2 only is the correct answer. However, in this very similar scenario, the question can also be asked over the phenomena of El Nino. And that is why it becomes very important that we must know that how El Nino is formed. Now, as far as the IOD, El Nino, La Nina, all these things are concerned, all these things are interaction between the atmosphere as well as oceans. There are certain changes, certain reversals in terms of temperature, pressure, etc., because of which the behavior of the atmospheric winds as well as oceanic currents change. And these changes have a wide-ranging climatic as well as weather impacts across the globe. So now let us understand that what is El Nino. But before understanding El Nino, first we should look at what is the normal situation in the Pacific Ocean. Now let us observe this particular area in great detail. Clear? I will explain you several concepts in this, because once you go through and understand all these basic concepts, only then you will be able to understand the phenomena of El Nino. So first of all, there are several ocean currents. What is ocean currents? In layman language, ocean currents are like rivers flowing in the oceans. It is found in the oceans that there is a specific mass and volume of water which takes a particular direction, and it has a speed greater than the surroundings. So therefore, just imagine the river flowing in the oceans. Those are the ocean currents. Now ocean currents can be cold currents as well as warm currents depending upon the temperature. Correct? So what happens is that on the western coast of the South America, we have a cold current, and that is why the border of the coast of Peru is cold in nature. Clear? Now the second important concept which you must understand is the primary circulations. Now primary circulations are the primary winds. For example, tropical easterlies, subtropical westerlies are present across the globe. So in the tropical region, the winds which flow in this particular region are tropical easterlies, and that is why they flow in this particular direction in the northern hemisphere and in this particular direction in the southern hemisphere. Now because the wind is flowing from east towards west, it will push the water, and the water in the Pacific Ocean will take the direction from east towards west. Correct? Because the winds are moving from east towards west, and under the influence of these winds, the water of the ocean will also move in the same direction. Now we know that this particular region is warm, and the winds are driving the warm water from the eastern Pacific towards the western Pacific, which will collect the warm water over this particular area. And now because the water over here is warm, this water will start evaporating. Moreover, these winds have redistributed the heat also. They have taken the warm heat from this particular region and they have transported the heat to this region. So that means that the atmosphere near the coast of Australia has become warmer. And we know that the warmer air is lighter in nature, and that is why this region becomes the low pressure area from where the wind rises upwards. This uprising wind evaporates the moisture which is excessively present over this area because the ocean water was moving towards this direction, and there is a formation of clouds in this particular region, and hence the rainfall occurs over this region. And because here we were having the cold conditions, therefore it becomes relatively higher pressure region. And again, as we know that winds move from high pressure to low pressure, that is why the winds are moving from eastern Pacific towards the western Pacific. So this is presently the normal situation. And now you come to the Indian Ocean part. Now during monsoon, we know that land becomes excessively heated compared to the oceans. And now because the land is more heated, the low pressure region develops over the Indian landmass. In comparison to this, the oceans are relatively colder, and that is why here high pressure develops near the coast of Africa, and that is why the winds move from high pressure to low pressure region. These winds are responsible for bringing the moisture of the Arabian Sea as well as Bay of Bengal to the Indian landmass, and hence during the monsoonal season we get rainfall. Now what happens during El Nino is that these pressure conditions gets reversed. In the normal situation, as we have seen that the Pacific region, this particular region was having the high pressure region. But during El Nino, the water of the Peruvian coast becomes warmer. And now because the water has become warmer, so here the low pressure region will get developed. And because now here the low pressure region is developed, the winds which were earlier moving in this particular direction, the speed of these winds will weaken, and that is why it is said that the tropical easterlies get weakened. Now because the easterly winds are weaker during El Nino, it will not be able to transport this amount of water near to the Australian coast as it was doing before. and therefore all the warm water will not reach up to the Australian coast, rather it will be accumulated over this particular region. And hence now this Pacific region, which earlier was the high pressure area, now becomes the low pressure area. Correct? Now if this region becomes the low pressure area, let us now see that how the winds will change in Indian Ocean. Earlier, the winds from this high pressure region was going towards the Indian landmass because it was having only one low pressure destination. But now the winds will be divided towards India also, as well as towards Pacific also. So now the winds have bifurcated in two parts, and that is why the winds reaching to India will decrease. And if the winds reaching towards India will decrease, hence there will be the situation of droughts. Clear? Now let us see what will happen in Australia. Earlier Australia was having the low pressure region because the warm water was collected over here and the warm winds were also over here. But now because the warm water is in central and eastern Pacific or the coast of Australia, we will be having high pressure region and Australian coast will also face droughts. So what has happened is that the cold water which was earlier present off the coast of Peru has now become warm. And this warming of the oceanic water near the coast of Peru is known as El Nino. So I hope that El Nino phenomena, the conceptual part is clear to you. So now let us look at some of the probable impacts. The first point is clear as we have discussed it already, that the drought situations will prevail in India and Australia. Second, there might be floods in the Peru because now we have discussed that of the coast of Peru, the conditions are warmer. And if the conditions are warmer, that means there will be excessive evaporation as well as the cloud formation will take place over this region. The third is the disruption in the oceanic currents. Now because the winds patterns have reduced their intensity and the pressure conditions have changed in the Pacific Ocean, it will disrupt the oceanic currents. Their velocity, their direction, their discharge will get disrupted. The fourth major impact might be economic in nature, that is the loss to fishing industry. Now let us understand this particular point. Now what happens is that fishing industry, for fishes to flourish over a certain region, they require the continuous supply of nutrients. During the normal condition, when the water was moving in this particular direction, and here we were having the cold conditions, here the upwelling of water was taking place. Because the water was being transported from east towards west, this void which was created over here was filled by the water which was coming from submarine area, and this was the upwelling of water. The cold water which comes from below the oceanic surface has nutrients with them. But in El Nino situation, these conditions have reversed. Now there is no upwelling in this particular area, rather we have downwelling, and hence these areas are not receiving the adequate nutrients. And therefore there will be the mass death of fishes, and in turn it will lead to huge losses in the fishing industry. And the fifth point is that the heat and the nutrient transfer will also be affected. The effect of El Nino on nutrient transfer we have discussed already, and the heat transfer is self-explanatory because now the winds will not be able to transport the excessive heat from this to this particular region, and that is why the heat transfer will be affected. So I hope the conceptual part of the El Nino, oceanic currents, primary circulations, as well as the multifold effects of the El Nino are clear to you. And now we will talk about the phenomena of La Nina. La Nina is the atmo-oceanic interactions which take place in the Pacific Ocean because of several intervening factors. During the La Nina conditions, the waters of the Western Pacific Oceans are warmer than normal, and of the Eastern Pacific Ocean becomes cooler than normal. Further, in this particular region, there are very strong presence of trade winds also, and these trade winds are northeasterly as well as southeasterly in direction, which derives the water from the Eastern Pacific Ocean towards the Western Pacific Ocean. Now, because of the presence of warmer than normal situations on the coast of Australia, there exists the region of low pressure and here exists the region of high pressure. From this low pressure region, the winds get uplifted, and in this area, the winds get subsided, and that is why the wind movement takes place in this particular direction. So, whenever there is a condition of La Nina and the low pressure situations over the Western Pacific Ocean, it is generally experienced that India receives higher rainfall. So, this is basically the La Nina situation. Now, this topic has appeared as the lead article in today's newspaper, and as you can see, the topic is in relation to the malnutrition problem. This topic has appeared at page number 6, and the context of this topic is that recently the Global Hunger Index of 2022 has ranked India at 107th position out of 121 countries. Now, this ranking itself is very poor as far as one of the fastest and largest growing economies are concerned. And according to the classification provided by the Global Hunger Index, this situation of India in the context of the hunger is a serious matter. So, in this line in today's session, what we are going to discuss is all the dimensions associated with this particular issue. In today's session, we will learn about the Global Hunger Index, its parameters, what do we exactly mean by wasted, stunting, malnutrition as a concept as such, government steps, way ahead, all of the things will be covered in today's session. So first of all, let us begin with understanding what do we mean by the Global Hunger Index. Now, Global Hunger Index is an annual report. This has basically 4 parameters: undernourishment, child stunting, child wasting, and child mortality. On the basis of these 4 parameters, a GHI, that is Global Hunger Index score, is calculated. This score is ranged between 0 to 100. The country which is as near as 100 faces extremely severe and detrimental situation, and as the score approaches towards the lower side, that is towards the 0, the country is in a better position. So on the basis of this thing, there are 5 classifications provided by GHI. If the GHI score exceeds 50, that country is in the extremely alarming state. If the GHI score is between 20 to 34.9, that is the serious category. And the countries are very good if their GHI score is less than 9.9. So there are various international organizations which provide the data related to the undernourishment, stunting, wasting, as well as child mortality. However, in this GHI, one important thing is to be considered. If you see the relative weightage of these 4 parameters, they are not same. For undernourishment as well as the child mortality, the weightage or the average weightage is 1 by 3. So that means they combine to form 2 by 3. And for stunting and wasting, it is 1 by 6. So that means they combine to get 1 by 3. And together the total becomes 1. This GHI index is published by Concern Worldwide in association with Welt Hunger Life. Now in this line we will discuss some of the important micro concepts related to the malnourishment. So regularly in newspapers, in magazines, in your study materials, you come across this word, malnourishment. Think about it, that what basically is malnourishment. Most of the times when we read about this word, a picture comes into our mind of a child who is very weak and skinny, having very low height or low weight. However, malnourishment is not restricted to the underweight. Understand the word mal. What do you exactly mean by mal? Mal signifies certain imbalance. So that is why if it is malnourishment, it is the imbalance of nutrition. So this imbalance can be in excess or it can be deficient. That is why malnourishment has 2 components. First is associated with the deficiencies of the nutrients and other is associated with the excess of nutrients. Undernourishment is just one part of the malnourishment which occurs due to deficiencies of the nutrients. When a human body does not get the adequate nutrition, it gets undernourished. However, when the human body gets excess of nutrients which is required as per the height, weight or age, The result is that the body becomes overweight, or in extreme sense it becomes obese. So first of all, you need to understand that malnourishment has these two components. One is associated with the deficiency and the other is associated with the excess. Now this undernourishment has further 4 subclassifications. One is the wasting. It is the relation of weight and height. When the weight is low as compared to the height, we say that child is wasted. The second is stunting. It is the relation of height and age. When the height is low as compared to the age, we say that the child is stunted. The third is underweight, which gives us a relation of weight and age. So when the weight is lower with respect to the age, that child is called underweight. However, there is fourth component also which we generally tend to miss. That is the micronutrient deficiency. Now first you need to understand that what is the basic difference between the macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are those nutrients which are required by body in excess. On the contrary, the micronutrients are those nutrients which are required in a small amount in body. The example of macronutrients are like proteins, carbs and fats. However, the micronutrients encompasses the vitamins and minerals. So the vitamins like A, B, D, K, etc. and the minerals like zinc, iron, copper, manganese, cobalt. So it has been witnessed that we generally tend to focus on the macronutrients in our diet. We regularly care about our protein intakes, the carbs and the fats intakes. However, we tend to neglect the requirements of vitamins and minerals in our body. So therefore, the micronutrient deficiency is a lack of vitamins and minerals that are essential for the body functions, such as producing the enzymes, hormones and other substances needed for growth and development. So when there is a deficiency of all these things, we say that this is a case of undernourishment. Now we'll understand the excess part, that is the overnutrition body, the overnourishment. So there are two subcategorizations. One is the overweight and other is the obese conditions. They are differentiated on the basis of the body mass index. If the body mass index is greater than 25, we say that the person is overweight, and if the body mass index is beyond 30, we say that the body is obese. So body mass index is a simple ratio of the weight of a person measured in kilograms divided by the height of that person measured in meter to the power 2. So for example, if your weight is around 65 kilograms and your height is around 1.5 meters, you square the height and you get the value of the BMI. So if the BMI comes less than 18.5, you are underweight. If the value is between 18.5 to 24.9, you are normal. If it is between 25 to 29.9, you are overweight, and beyond 30, it is obese and extremely obese category. The next interrelated topic with this is the food insecurity, and very important from your examination point of view. Now we will understand the basic definition of the food insecurity given by Food and Agriculture Organization, that is FAO. And you need to be very clear about each and every word in this definition to understand the basic concept that what is food insecurity. Is it just related to the quantity part, or it also has to do with certain quality part? We will see. A person is a food insecure when they lack regular access to enough safe and nutritious food for a normal growth and development and an active healthy life. Now if we decode this definition into simple language, we see that there should be the component of reliability and accessibility. Then there is a component of quantity, that the food which a person is getting should be enough in quantity which is required by his or her body. And then it is also related to the quality. For example, if there is a person A and if there is a person B, both of them require, let's say, 100 calories per day. Now the person A is getting the 100 calories from just one diet, that is rice, and the person B is getting this 100 calories from multiple dietary sources like rice, milk, fruits. So the necessity of the 100 calories is fulfilled by both these persons. However, the person A faces higher threat of food insecurity because he is not getting the other nutrition which the person B is getting by virtue of having the diversified diet. So here comes a very important part. Whenever you have to think about the food security, think about it in quantitative terms as well as the qualitative terms. So the FAO measures the food insecurity using the Food Insecurity Experience Scale, that is FIES. So this scale shows us the increasing intensity of the food insecurity. For example, the stage 1 is related to the uncertainty regarding the ability to obtain food, and this the FAO calls it as the mild level of food insecurity. On the other hand, if a person is not getting a food for a day or more, this is known as the severe food insecurity condition. So this map shows the global state of food security, and different regions perform in different manner. For example, most of the South Asia, including our country India, is in the moderately performing category, and the best performing category is this region. And here, as you can again see, that the food security has the components of affordability, availability, safety, quality, and the natural resources. So such type of maps are very handy during the mains answer writing, whereby you can use such maps to depict the regional variations in the food security across the globe, and you can draw such maps with regard to India also. So summing up the entire topic once again. In this session, we learned that what are the basics of malnourishment or malnutrition. We understood that malnutrition refers to the deficiencies or excess in nutrient intake, imbalance of essential nutrients, or impaired nutrient utilization. The double burden of malnutrition consists of both, that is the undernutrition and the overweight. The undernutrition manifests in four broad forms, that is wasting, stunting, underweight, and micronutrient deficiencies. This is also called as hidden hunger. Then we understood the concept of body mass index and what is the range of the values of the BMI for different levels of nutrition. Then we understood the concept of food insecurity and the global variation in the levels of food security across different regions. So now we will move towards the government initiatives which are being taken by the government of India in order to tackle this particular problem. There are 5 important steps. The first one is the National Food Security Act. Now this act legitimized the rights of the poor people in India, and it made the government liable as well as accountable to provide those people with adequate quantity as well as quality of the food at affordable prices. This National Food Security Act covered more than 66% of the total population and provided a special focus on women as well as children. Obviously, we can understand that women and children are one of the most vulnerable sections when it comes to the issues related to the food insecurity, poverty, hunger, and malnourishment. The second important scheme is the midday meal program, which is basically, we all know, is a school feeding program. The aim of this program was to enhance the enrollment, retention, and attendance, and simultaneously improving the nutritional levels among the children. Next comes the public distribution system, whereby a large distribution network has been set up across India. The ration shops have been involved, and the people can get to those shops in order to get the subsidized food. Next is the Antyodaya Anna Yojana. This scheme is basically the targeted public distribution system. It targets the poorest of the poor families and provide them the food grains at highly subsidized rates. And recently, just few years back, government has come up with the Poshan Abhiyan. This Poshan Abhiyan is based on the life cycle concept, and it aims to bring down the stunting in the children from 38.4% to 25% by this year only, that is 2022. It also aims to reduce anemia among the women and adolescent girls in the age group of 15 to 49 years and reduce low birth weight. Now, over and above these government initiatives, we must have suggestions and solutions which we can write in a mains answer so that we can tackle this problem. In this line, the first suggestion can be a cash transfers, that is the direct cash transfers. And we can target this particular cash transfers in those areas where the data suggests where the people are having a very depressed purchasing power. Second, the distribution network of the PDS must be increased and special supplements must be added to the items which we supply through those shops. A special focus must be given towards pregnant and lactating mothers and infants. Further, in order to have a decentralized implementation, we must involve the local government up to a greater extent. Local community groups must be involved in the design and tailoring the nutritional intervention schemes which are required. Further, a comprehensive program targeting the adolescent girls is required if the intergenerational nature of malnutrition is to be tackled. So these were the dimensions associated with the Global Hunger Index, malnourishment, obesity, and all the linked concepts which we need to be aware from the perspective of civil services examination. This topic has appeared at page number 7 and is in relation to the upcoming G20 summit which is going to be organized. And this is the very context of this news article. The context says that India's ascent to the G20 presidency coincides with the country's 75th year of independence. In this very article, the author has mentioned that what are the potential of G20 vis-a-vis the context of India is concerned. Now, G20 as an organization and a different perspective is recently been covered by Naved sir in the DNS last week. So that is why in today's session, we'll keep ourselves restricted to the perspectives which is mentioned in this particular article. So author has come up with 4 dimensions or the 4 possible opportunities which India must tap from the G20. So we will discuss these 4 dimensions. The first and the foremost thing is the author says that the global finance for climate has become very important. Now, recently we all know that COP27 was concluded and the findings have suggested that the $100 billion per year commitment for the climate finance which was done by the developed countries for the developing countries has not been fulfilled yet. And that is why it is a matter of grave concern. So therefore, India must not solely depend on the developed countries to meet its climate finance commitments. Rather, the countries of G20 must join hands together to arrange for alternate global finance for climate. They can go to persuade IMF, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, BRICS, etc. to come up with the financial mechanisms in order to carry forward the fight against climate change. The second dimension or the second potential of the G20 in the context of India is the globalizing the technology. Now, India should use the G20 to roll out the India Stack, which is the world's largest digital public utility. The important components of India's stack are Aadhaar, UPI, eKYC, DigiLocker, etc. So this is one of the most important power in the digital domain which India commands, and hence the potential of it must be reaped through the G20. The third important dimension is that India and other countries of G20 must work together to establish a new economic order. One of the most important components of this new economic order is that the countries must reimagine the shareholding structure of the IMF and World Bank. Similarly, there has been the talks of reforming the United Nations Security Council. And the reason we all know that these shareholding structures or the voting powers which were given to the countries were way back around 60 to 70 years. And since then, a lot of geopolitical situation has changed. And that is why, in order to suit with the reality of today's geopolitical scenario, there should be reforms in the various multilateral institutions. And last dimension which this author has mentioned in today's article is showcasing and celebrating the cultural diversity. And for this, India is the best example. And therefore, India must showcase the multiple aspects of its composite culture so that the world begins to appreciate the richness and cultural tenacity of the country. And this becomes more important in today's present time when fundamentalism and individualism is growing to such an extent that it has led to various issues like terrorism, regionalism, and communalism. So these are the various dimensions which have been mentioned in today's article by the author. So now is the time for the reference article. This article has appeared at page number 6 and is in relation to the Right to Information Act. Recently, in the DNS dated 12th October 2022, Mangal sir has covered this topic in much detail, whereby he has discussed all the salient features as well as he has also discussed the challenges or the critical analytical part as far as the Right to Information Act as well as its amendment in 2019 is concerned. So therefore, you are requested to go back to the DNS dated 12th October 2022 in order to revise all the important dimensions related to this very topic. So that was all for today. All the very best and study hard.